Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to do something a little different. It's going to be a bit of a tutorial mashed in with some other stuff. Um, Basically what I'm going to do is try and show you how to export this cattle market here, which is from Baxley. This is version 1. I don't know about any other version because it's the only version I have. And then I'm going to import this into another map, specifically American Farms. No particular reason, as always. Just again, map I'm playing on at the moment, so I figured why not use it. Other than that, no reason at all. Could be any other map. But I'm going to do some map editing as well, in a different sort of way than just deleting a building. But yeah, so to start with, I'm just going to export this, which is from what I can see and sort of understand, you've got 3 different mods all combined into one. Really, you've got let's see what we've got in here. We've got sheep and cows, and then you've got lambs and pigs and chickens and that's lambs, chickens and lambs. I don't know, there's quite a few different animals in here, but from what I can tell, this is 3 different mods all combined together. So 1, 2, 3, and then made into one big sort of mod, if you like. So yeah, I really like this. I've had a bit of a look on other maps, and I can find, you know, this one for example, or this one over here. So I can find the pig and beef, but not the chicken, and so on and so on. But anyway, I'm not going to use all of the animals. I just like the idea of having them on the map, so it will show up like sheep and lambs and the cows, not the beef, the cows. It will show up beef as well, but it will show up also cows. I won't be using those to purchase. I won't be purchasing them, but they will still show up in the market itself, and I quite like that. So I'm going to go with that anyway. So moving on, I'm going to yeah. So basically, I'm just going to export this from the map. So we'll highlight an area that I can then find it in the cinegraph as always, and highlight the entirety of the makeup of the mod, and we'll just go to File, Export Selection with Files. Actually, before I do that, what I want to do is just copy the name of it. So we go back over Export Selection with Files, Desktop, Create New Folder, paste in the name, open the folder up, again paste in the name, and save. So we've now exported that entire makeup of the mod from Baxley, put it into a separate folder on the desktop, and we are done with this particular Giants editor session. So we can close this down. We won't make any saves, changes to that. So as you can see, we've got our newly created folder here with the cattle market and all the bits and pieces, or almost all of the bits and pieces that we need within the folder. So then what I'm going to do is open up American Farms here. Save a little bit of time. I've already got them open in the Giants editor sessions. We'll just close that down a tad so I can see a bit more on the screen. Okay, so I've had a bit of a look around, and the only place that I can see is viable, or an area that I feel would be appropriate and would blend in with the map and everything else, is right here. Unfortunately, there's a field in the way. So what I need to do first of all is remove the field. So what I'm going to do is delete the actual field itself. So I'll click on the buy icon so I can find it in the cinegraph here, and it's field 2, and I'm just going to delete that by clicking on the delete key on the keyboard. There we go, it's gone. Obviously the actual field is still here, but there's no identifiers to say what that field is. So the next thing is to renumber the rest of the fields. You don't need to do this, but to keep the structure of it all in numerical order or whatever, I would probably recommend to do so. So it's just a case of changing the numbers, the field name to correspond in that numerical order. So we'll go over here to our attributes, and we'll just change those numbers. So field 2, and then so on and so on. So I'll just do that. Okay, we're done. So fields 1 to 18 all correctly identified. So with that done, we can move on, and we can then continue to delete our field here. First of all, obviously, as you can see, it's got cotton in the field, so I need to get rid of that. So I can go up to my terrain foliage paint mode and then come down and select cotton. Oops. Like so. And then I can click anywhere in the field there and remove it. I'm going to change over to my square brush, simply because these fields are square, rectangular, straight edged. So this tends to work a little bit better if you've got field with. Okay, so there we are. So now what I need to do is actually remove the cultivated texture there for the field itself. So to do that, I need to have my terrain foliage paint mode selected again, and then I need to come down to my foliage layer and select terrain detail. Doesn't matter about your foliage channels because we're just removing foliage channel, not putting one down. So with that selected, I can then just right click on the area and remove it. Okay, so now that that's all gone, and we have all of our ground textures the way we want them for now, what I'm going to do there is I'm just going to save that. There we go, so that's all saved. And then what I'm going to do is bring in the actual mod itself. But what I need to do first of all is put it in the appropriate place within the folder. I've already got that open. Yes. Okay, so with the American Farms folder open, I'm in map already, so I'm going to go into models, buildings, and I'm just going to copy this across like so. I'm going to copy it because if I mess something up, I've always got that there as a backup, so I don't need to then go back in and export it all over again from Baxley. I've just got that there as a backup. Okay, so now that's in the folder, I can go back into my Giants editor session, and like always when you're importing, file, import into your folder that you've got it in, so map, models, buildings, come down, via marked, and double click on the i3D. There we go. So now it's in the actual map itself, floating in midair here. You can see that it's actually got various different structures, and I don't mean the actual buildings as structures, I mean it's structured in a certain way. And we can tell that because it's got a plus sign next to the transform group. And this is quite important, this part here, because normally when you import something like this into the map, you would actually grab it as a whole, the main transform group, and then move everything together. But if you do that with this particular mod, it actually breaks it. And that's because of the animated animals you can see just here in front of us, because these are actually dynamically spawned in certain places. And if you move them from where they have been imported into the map, they will not spawn correctly. Or at least that's the issues that I have had when I've tried to do this in the past. By moving the main transform group, I've actually broken the mod, because even though you can to a degree use it, you can buy the animals, the animated part of it won't work, so you won't see these animals here moving around or anything like that. So in this particular case, you can't position this mod by moving the whole thing with the main transform group. So what you have to do is click on the plus here and then click on this particular transform group marked, and that's the part that you need to move, because it then leaves the animated animals completely separate where they need to be, which is where they were imported to in the map. So do not touch them. Basically leave them exactly where they are. So with marked selected, what we can do then is position it on the map somewhere we think it might look good. So we go edit, interactive placement, plonk it on the map, like so. Okay, so I don't think I want to have it facing that direction, because what I'm going to plan to do is this particular area here I'm going to have as grass. So I'm just going to have that there as a random grass field, not numbered or anything like that, just a random grass field that I can come in and mow, or even chaff if I choose to. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to rotate this so that I can then come in from this angle here across the bridge or whatever and have access to it that way. So I'm going to rotate it by 180 degrees like so. You could do that with the gizmo here, but I find if you're rotating in that particular sense, it's easier to just type the numbers in. Okay, so we can now use the gizmo here and manipulate it and move it around and position it where we think we want it, at least a starting point. And then we can move it accordingly later on to a position we're more comfortable with. Okay, so now that we've got that there, we have a look and we find that the actual ground underneath it is not completely level. It's not all the same height all over. So we're going to need to adjust that somewhat so that it fits in here better. So what I'm going to do now is use our replace tool, and I'm going to go into the terrain sculpt mode. First I'm going to deselect the actual building here. So go into terrain sculpt mode, and I'm then going to come down here and change my left mouse button to replace. Doesn't matter which mouse button you use, whichever one you're comfortable with is the one you choose. I always use the left mouse button. Okay, so first of all I need to click on the map with my cursor here, anywhere, doesn't matter where you click, but you need to click somewhere for it to activate the cursor on the map itself. If you don't do that, when you use the picking with Control R, it will just bing at you and do absolutely nothing. So now I've clicked on the map, I can press my Control R, and if you watch the numbers here in the replace box, you'll see that they will change accordingly, like so. Now what I can do is drag my cursor around in the area here and adjust the terrain to suit the positioning of the cattle market. I can bring up my brush a little bit bigger here. Like so. Now if I click on marked again to highlight the buildings here, leaving the animals floating up in the sky somewhere, I can then bring the buildings up slightly so that I get all the correct. So I'm going to go back into my terrain sculpt mode. I'm going to put that back to add so I don't forget later, and I'm going to use the smooth mode with my middle mouse button. Like so. And just adjust the terrain, smooth it off. So by using the smooth tool here, I'm just leveling off areas, and well, not leveling, just taking out the ridges, I suppose, the high points and low points, and mashing it all together so that it looks right and is comfortable to then drive around on. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now that we've got that into there, the next thing is to make it look like it's part of the map, if you like. I mean, it's obviously in the map, but I want to make it look a bit more sort of like it's at home, you know, it's meant to be there. Otherwise I could have just placed it somewhere over there randomly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to grab a tree, I'm going to copy the tree, and then I'm going to go into my interactive placement and bring it over, like so. Okay, so then what I'll do is I'll do a few of these along here, put a bit of a gap between them, because what I'm going to do is have a bit of a sort of alteration of trees here. I don't want them to all look exactly the same. So I'll grab a slightly different tree here now and do the same again. Control D to copy it. We can bring it into position like so. And there we go. Okay, so we've got that now set up like so. And then what we can do if we want to is grab one of the hedges over here, and we'll copy that with Control D, go into our interactive placement and bring it over. Like so. And I think what I'll do is I'll do the same again for over here. Yep, that looks fine. So we'll just copy a couple of those in like so. There we go. And then what we can do is go into our terrain detail texture paint mode here, and I'm going to change my brush to round for this, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. There we go. And with highlighted dirt, so that's fine. And I'm then just going to bring in some dirt over here like so. And there we go. So we now have an area where we can come in, turn around and reverse into our spot to pick up our animals. Yeah, I think that looks quite good, at least as a starting point anyway. Like I say, you can always come back in and adjust it as you see fit later on. Making note that any changes you make to the fields and the actual textures, ground textures aren't so much of a problem. It's when you start putting down actual foliage textures like your grass and your wheat, barley, things like that. If you make massive changes in that respect, or any changes for that matter, what you'll end up finding is if you've already played on the map, it won't accept the changes in that game save. So what you will then have to do is go delete that and start all over again, completely new game save. Otherwise it won't work. It'll cause problems. Like for instance, if I was to, now I've got a game save on this particular map of 27 hours, I think, something like that. if I was to put this in my mod folder and run that game save, what I would get is a load of trees, a couple of hedges, and this cattle market plonked in amongst my cotton field, because it wouldn't recognise that I had actually deleted that cotton field, and it may even cause conflicts and errors and crash the game. So any changes like I've done here in a big way, you will need to actually start a completely new game save. Limitations of the game, I guess, Giants editor, whatever, I don't know, but it just won't accept it, so that's all there is to it basically. Can't be anything done about it, so we have to live with it, I guess. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is paint in some grass, because like I said, I'm going to have this as just a random grass field that I can come in and cut some grass on. So with my terrain foliage paint mode selected, I'm going to come down to my foliage layer and select grass, and then I'm going to go 4, 5, 6 I believe, and I'm going to put in some grass down here. Is it 4, 5, 6? I'm just trying to think now. Have I got that on add? Yes. So let's see what comes up. 6. So it's 6. 6 for fully grown grass. So there you go. So we'll put in our grass here. Go back to my square brush. Okay, so let's have a look. Yep, I think that looks acceptable for now anyway. So we'll leave it with that, like that. So we can, yeah, as I say, we can come in here with a vehicle, reverse in here, or turn around in here, and then we'll basically be reversing up to the gate and picking up our animals. Okay, so we've got that saved, so we'll minimise that for now. Probably will need to close it down, but we'll keep it up there just in case. So the next thing to do is to bring over all the bits and pieces we need for our mob desk and our scripts and our HUDs and all the other bits and pieces. So first of all, we'll start off with our mob desk. So we'll open this up in Notepad++, and we will do the same for Baxley. I've already got that open, probably, yep. So we'll do the same for Baxley here. So we'll open this up like so. So the first thing is the animals themselves. As you can see, we've got young pig, young beef, young lamb. Not quite sure why it's not showing young chicken on there. It should do, but that's fine. We can always just add that in ourselves. Okay, so what we need to do here in American Farms is to go in here, and I'm going to just tidy those up a second. Like so. And then we will do the chicken there. I'm going to copy that line, and I'm going to create a new line, paste it in. There we go, that's fine. And we'll just bring that back up. Okay, so now what I need to do is type in here young underscore, like so. And we'll just change that as well, like so. Change that to uppercase. Okay, so there we go. Next time I'll leave that as lowercase. Matches the rest then. Well, kind of. We're all a bit up and downy, I think, in this. For some reason. Some are uppercase, some are lowercase. This is only the text that's displayed in your info panel anyway. So as long as you know it says something and it makes sense to you, it doesn't really matter if it's uppercase or lowercase, I guess. Okay, so we've got that into there, so we'll save. And the next thing we need to do is find the script. So these are the scripts obviously we've got on American Farms already. So we need to find the one that's in Baxley and bring it over. Now what we're looking for here is the earmarked. So we'll copy that line like so, bring it over, we'll put it on the end here. There we go. Okay, so now that we've got that into there, we need to actually find the script and then point everything in the right direction. So, where's the script? Map my objects, scripts. So in the Baxley map folder, we need to go into map, my objects, scripts, and just there. So we copy that, and then we're going to put it into scripts folder in there like so.